right, the purpose of this video is to walk you guys through what my expectation is for our first real physics lab. It's the CART lab, Unit 2, lab number 3. This is going to walk you through how I would like you to arrange, I suppose I should say, your write-up, because the sheet you used in class was meant literally to just be a place where you could take notes and include all the information that you're going to need, so that when you get home, you can write this up in a significantly more concise and organized way using the tools that we have. So, first thing I would encourage you guys to do is check out the handout from lab, the actual handout that I gave you that day when you walked into class. That actually has everything organized the way that you're going to need. Let me actually pull that up here. It already has everything organized the way that I want it to be organized. So we've done our pre-lab already, but if you look over here on the right-hand side, I'll zoom in actually so it only becomes the one sheet of paper we're looking at. I need a section on your lab write-up that is literally just the purpose of the lab, a separate section that is your materials, a separate section that is the procedure. And so it's already organized that way. When you go to put this on your lab report, then this is literally all I need to see. Your name, if you're choosing to do this with your partner, that's perfectly fine. I need your partner's name. Give me the title of the assignment, and we're going to do this sort of write-up for some of the simpler labs that we've got for the year, but we are going to use this again. So you could use this template for any sort of generic lab report that we're going to be working on, right? Your procedure needs to be clearly defined, clearly written out. In this lab, we were doing this. In this lab, we did, we tested these two variables. In this lab, we did X, Y, and Z. The materials list needs to be written out in, not bullet points, but actually in a paragraph format. But you need to include what materials you used in the lab. If you miss, a meter stick and you had to measure distance, like in this lab, that's kind of a big deal. Someone who takes your lab report could not reproduce your lab without a meter stick, so you need to include it. Seems silly now, but the materials portion does become important for later on. The procedure. Remember that this procedure should be written as though a freshman could be grabbed from the hallway, brought into the classroom, read your lab, do your lab the exact way you did it, down to the distance that the cart traveled and the time, and measure the same time it took the cart to make that trip. They should get the same data that you had gotten. Your conclusion, obviously, you should always come back to the data. I don't want to see the word proven anywhere. We're not proving anything. You're supplying data and evidence to support or reject a hypothesis, and that's it. For your results section, there's a couple of things that we could do in the results section. If you would like to make a data table, you can come up here to the top left where you see my cursor right now. It says insert. You can actually insert your own data tables. You can make them any size that you might want. I would encourage you, we had 2 carts. So you might need, for a title, at least 3, right? 1 column for red, 1 column for blue, and then 1 column for like your title and how you organize all of it. And then the number of rows will depend on what it is you're doing, right? You might need at least 5 rows for the 5 trials that you had. If you want to make your data table a little bit larger, then you can also come over here to insert and make the exact number that you want. If you come up with a random number like we did here, and you realize you need more rows down below, you can always click this little plus sign here. That will add a row. If you don't have that plus sign, then just right click. And if you right click, you can insert a row below the last row that you're at, and you can add stuff there. So you could make your data table here if you'd like, that's fine. Or you can copy paste it from Excel. Take the data that you had, and we're going to go back to Excel. Make sure it's through your computer, not through the internet. You shouldn't go to the school's website to get to Excel. Okay, once in Excel, we're going to have to do this one a little bit differently than we normally would do. So the first thing you have to remember is that Excel already sets up these grids, these blocks, as your ordered pairs, right? As X comma Y. So on our X-axis, and I don't want you to really type this, you don't need to, time should always be on our X-axis, because remember, it is the one thing we cannot control, and your distance should go on your Y-axis. So I understand that times might be a little bit different. If you wanted to, you could go through and type in all of your different distances. If we started with 2 meters and then did 2.5 meters, then you would do 2.5 a couple of times, 3 times specifically. And then you could also do, what is it? Maybe, I don't know, what was your next one? 2.75. Let's make that our next distance, right? So for this graph, I'm not going to do all 5 distances. You guys get the idea. You'll notice that there are 2 sets of times, one for your red car, one for your blue car, one for your fast car, one for your slow car. So what I would encourage you guys to do is actually have 2 columns here for your x-axis, and bear with me. You can go back and replay this a couple of times if you need to. That's fine. But in this box, I would have maybe my red time, and then in the box next to it, it would be my blue time. And I'm going to show you how to make from one organized column 2 graphs, actually. We're going to make 2 separate graphs. Instead of one graph with 2 lines on it, we're going to make 2 separate graphs. The one graph with 2 lines works, but it's difficult to do when it's your x-axis. Sorry for the bell. When it's your x-axis, that is the thing that's changing. When it's your y-axis, that's the thing that's changing. It should be relatively straightforward, but our distances were set for all of these. So I'm just going to come up with some random numbers for my times for the red car. Well, the red car the red car should be a little bit faster, so let's make these quick. I'll make these, I don't know, I'll make it go up by 2s because technically it should be faster, and then maybe... Now, all of these numbers for you guys might be a little bit different, and that's totally fine. If I wanted to actually, just for the sake of argument, I'll go back in and change a couple of them because not all 3 of your trials should be the same, naturally. That's not how any of this works. So 2.01. Let's make this 0.4, and then you guys get the idea for the first one. Okay, so the next one, these should have been a little bit slower. So 3.1, 3.01. I don't know. Let's make it. Let's double it again just to keep it consistent. We've got 6, 6.01, 5.99, because technically that's really, really, really close to 6. And then we'll do, what, it went up by 3, so 7.45, 7.5, 7.55. Notice how these numbers don't have to be in order. In any way, shape, or form, they don't have to be in order. So one of the things that you normally would do is you would go ahead and just highlight your data to make a graph. You can do this easily with blue and your blue time and your distance. If you highlight these 2 columns, because they're right next to each other, you could go insert our graph the way we've always inserted a graph. I would immediately change the chart title so that I know which one it is. This is the speed of my blue car. From here, right, obviously go in and add your chart elements like we normally would. You need your axes titles. One should be time, one should be distance. Notice that your time is on the x-axis, but remember, go to trend line. More trend line options. Again, you can pause and replay this and then display equation on chart. This equation represents your speed. The slope of that line, 0.168, is your velocity for your blue car in this particular case. Go back in and modify the axes titles and things like that, but that's all I need for this particular graph. If you want to make another graph, notice how if you click on the graph for your blue car, you get blue time and distance are the 2 things that are highlighted. I'm going to click out of that. Now nothing is highlighted, and I'm actually going to go up to insert first, and I'm going to tell it to insert a scatter plot. Right now it's blank. There's nothing there. So what I need to do is go to, in that chart design, select data. When you click select data, and you got to do this, you could copy and paste a few things, but when you do this, you're able to go into your x-axis right here where it says select range, and I can choose what should be on my x-axis. Time should be on my x-axis. And then I can go to my y value, and I can select what should be on my y-axis. The distance should be on the y-axis. From here, I'll click OK. It's going to do its own thing. Just click OK again, and you've got yourself your second line. Now, it looks kind of similar. Notice that the 3 dots up top aren't exactly the same, and so you've got some variation, some deviation from all of this. In this particular case, again, you want to change the chart title. That's probably the first thing you should do so that you remember this is your speed of my red car. Or maybe if you used both blue cars and one was just significantly faster than the other, that's fine. Then just say it's the speed of your fast car versus the speed of your slow car. If you click this second graph, notice you've got those two columns highlighted, red time and distance highlighted. So you had to do it this way because we've got two different lines, two different values, sets of values for your x-axis. So that really kind of screws with Excel. And the easiest way to get it done is to use two different graphs. So once you get this part figured out, you've got your two graphs. I'm going to close this and zoom out a little bit so that you can get a big picture idea. Notice I've got my data table and I've got my two graphs. And if I click on my blue graph, my blue car graph, then I get my blue time and distance highlighted. And if I click on my red car graph, I get my red time and distance highlighted. And I've got both of these that I can now take and copy into Excel. I'll show you how to do that, or not into Excel, but into Word. So I'll walk you through how to finish this, right? So when we go to our results, I would include distance here, and then you could do red car versus blue car, or again, fast car versus slow car. Make sure that these are all times. If you don't include seconds for each individual number, then I would write, red time measured in seconds. Make sure you include your units. This should be distance, and we should be measuring it in meters. Once you've got that table filled completely out, however it is you'd like to fill that out, give yourself a little space at the bottom. Go back to Excel, click your first graph with your blue car, make sure it's completely done. So I got to label my axes and stuff too. Right click on it, and I'm literally just going to click copy up at the top. I know there's 1,000 options, but you're literally just going to copy. You're going to go back to your Word document. You're going to get paste. There's a lot of paste options. Pasting it as a picture is perfect. Now nothing can be changed. There's your blue car. Give yourself some more space at the end of it. You've got a little bit of space right there. Come up here, right click, copy. Come on back over to your Word document. Paste it as a picture. There's the option. It's usually on the far right-hand side, so paste it as a picture. There it is. It's in there. Now with your conclusion, you can go back and say, well, see, in my graph for the red car, I had a speed of 0.49. That's significantly faster than a speed of 0.168 for my blue car. All right, so there's your graphical evidence. Remember, I said the purpose of this lab was to provide evidence that one car is traveling faster than the other, not just, hey, look, one's faster. And so this is your graphical evidence. This is what we're going to use to support that claim that one car is faster than the other. When all is said and done, once you've got it all figured out, filled in, you can come all the way back over to File. You could save a copy of it, sure. If you want to save it, make sure you're saving it to a location that you're familiar with and you can come back to. Sometimes it's your OneDrive right here. Sometimes it's as easy as saving it to the desktop computer. The desktop of the computer, and once it's saved to the desktop of the computer, you can find it right there on the main page where all of your icons are at, and you can also send it to me digitally that way. So it doesn't matter to me where you save it, just make sure you come down here where it says Save as Type. We want to save it as a PDF. All computers, even if you're using Google Docs, you can save them as a PDF. Save it as a PDF. That way, when you're uploading it to Teams, there's 0% chance of formatting getting weird. It's weird that Microsoft owns Teams and Word, yet when you guys submit a Word document in Teams, or worse, share it, please don't share these, it doesn't communicate well. I don't understand why. I would expect it from Google. I would expect it from any of the other Word document sort of programs that you could run, but for some reason even Microsoft products don't communicate all that well together. So notice how it's saved as a PDF. Should be good to go, right? I'm going to close out of that. And then when you go to submit this, you're going to go into your Teams page, right? On the main Teams page right here are all of the assignments. You can see them here. If you go to lab number 3, you'll notice there's significantly more detail when I get to the student view. This is what you will see. This includes all of the things that I'm looking for in a second place. Notice it's on the lab report that I gave you guys today in class, so it shows up in 2 places. I give you all of the details that I'm looking for. There's even a rubric down here that you can click on that you can see exactly how many points each thing is worth. There is not meant to be any confusion at all whatsoever with what is expected. At the bottom of this page, there will be a place where it says student work, and it'll give you an option to submit that work here. When you go to submit the work here, please select the PDF document that you saved it as, wherever you saved it as, and not the Word document. If you submit the PDF, it loads really, really quickly. I can go through the rubric, grade it, get it back to you guys, hopefully before we take that exam on Monday. That's what I expect for the remainder of the lab. If you guys have any questions, hesitations, or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact me.